Once you turn 80, something shifts. And I don't mean your posture or your pace, I mean life itself. It doesn't continue the way it did at 70. You may still feel young inside, still enjoy your hobbies, still crack the same jokes, but underneath all that, something feels different. It's subtle at first, then undeniable. And here's the truth. There are 6 things that start happening once you hit 80, whether you're ready or not. They're not illnesses or problems. They're not things to be fixed. They're simply changes, natural, universal, and powerful. Some may frustrate you. Others might surprise you. But when you understand them, really see them for what they are, they can actually become the keys to a richer, more peaceful life. And the 6th one, I promise, it might just be the most freeing thing that ever happens to you. So let's begin. 1. Your body's rhythm changes. You've probably already noticed this one. Maybe you find yourself waking up earlier than before, sometimes without an alarm. Maybe staying up past 9 or 10 feels harder than it used to. Or perhaps you feel tired at times of day that used to be full of energy for you. This isn't just getting old. It's your body switching gears. Your circadian rhythm, that natural internal clock that's guided you your whole life, begins to shift forward once you reach your 80s. Your body starts preparing for sleep around 8 or 9 p.m. You start waking up around 5 or 6, sometimes even before the sun rises. And your energy, rather than being spread throughout the day, comes in shorter, sharper waves. You may feel most energized in the early morning, a little less by lunchtime, and significantly slower by 2 or 3 in the afternoon. That post-lunch slump isn't just normal fatigue. It's your body telling you gently that it has a new rhythm now. And here's the mistake most people make. They fight it. They try to keep their old routine, push through the afternoon, force themselves to stay up late just to feel normal again. But that only makes things worse. Take Lucille, for example. She's 82 now, retired for years. She used to stay up late with her husband watching old westerns. But after she turned 80, she couldn't do it anymore. By 9 p.m., her eyes would close no matter how hard she tried. She'd wake up at 5 a.m. full of energy, but also full of guilt. She thought something was wrong with her, that maybe she was sick or losing her stamina. Then her doctor explained, "No, Lucille, this is normal. This is your body working with you." And when she accepted it, everything changed. She started doing her reading and journaling in the early morning, when her mind was clearest. Her light exercises moved to 9 a.m. when she felt strongest. She even planned her calls and visits for early afternoon, and she gave herself permission to rest at 2 p.m. instead of pushing through. She didn't feel weak. She felt focused. Her days became more productive, even though they looked different than before. That's the secret. Working with your new rhythm, not against it. You're not broken. You're not slowing down for no reason. Your body is just finding a smarter pace, a rhythm that fits where you are in life. And when you honor that rhythm, everything becomes smoother. 2. Your social circle evolves. Here's a hard truth many don't want to say out loud. Your social world changes dramatically in your 80s. And yes, some of that is loss. Friends pass away, or move, or drift apart. But it's not just about losing people. It's about changing what connection means to you. At 80, you find yourself letting go of certain friendships. Maybe they felt close for years, but now they just don't fit your pace or your priorities anymore. That old shopping buddy who used to talk nonstop about brands and sales? Maybe you just don't care about that anymore. Maybe the noise exhausts you now, and that's okay. But in their place, something surprising happens. You begin forming deeper, more meaningful relationships. You become more drawn to people who truly see you, who understand what it feels like to be in this stage of life. Conversations become more honest. Less small talk, more soul talk. Think of Eugene. He's 81. For years, his main social activity was poker night every Friday, without fail. But over time, the group changed. One friend developed early dementia. Another moved across the country. Another just stopped showing up. And Eugene felt lost, like his identity was fading with that group. Then, almost by accident, he started volunteering once a week at the local library, helping adults with reading, something he'd never tried before. And there he met new people his age, with different stories, but shared values. They weren't poker buddies. They were purpose buddies. They had meaningful conversations, supported each other. Eugene came alive again. Even his relationship with his adult children improved. Because when he stopped trying to maintain every old friendship, he had more space for the ones that truly mattered. His Sunday calls with his daughter became deeper. His visits with his grandson felt richer. His social world hadn't shrunk. It had simply evolved. And here's the most important part. This isn't isolation. It's refinement. At 80, your emotional energy is precious. You don't waste it on shallow connections. You invest it where it counts. You're not becoming antisocial. You're upgrading your social life to something deeper, calmer, and more nourishing. 3. Your relationship with time transforms. This one might be the most profound and the hardest to explain unless you've lived it. Time doesn't feel the same at 80. It's not just that it moves faster. It's that your entire relationship with it changes. You become more selective, more aware of how each moment is spent. The days may feel shorter because your energy isn't endless anymore, but every hour feels more valuable. You stop doing things just because you should. You start doing them because they feel right in your gut. Remember Ruby? At 83, she had been part of her church community for over 40 years. Everyone knew her. She was on every committee, helped organize every potluck. She was reliable, polite, and quietly exhausted. Then one day, something snapped. She realized she was spending her precious energy on obligations that no longer brought her joy. So she stepped down. All of it. No more planning meetings. No more event organizing. Instead, she spent her Sunday mornings in her garden. Her hands in the dirt, the sun on her face, the breeze through her lavender plants. She started volunteering at the community garden too, teaching younger folks how to compost and grow herbs. And she was happy. Truly, deeply happy. Her family was shocked at first. "You're quitting the church committee?" they asked, confused. But what they saw, over time, was Ruby revived. She wasn't giving up, she was finally choosing herself. That's what happens when your relationship with time transforms. You don't fear running out of time. You simply stop wasting it. You say no without guilt. You don't care as much about what others think. You care about how it feels to you. And that's not selfish. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's someone who finally understands. My time is mine, and I get to decide what matters. And here's what's fascinating. You actually become a better decision maker at 80. You start to see through the noise. You notice what's urgent versus what's actually important. You develop something psychologists call crystallized wisdom, that deep inner compass that points you toward peace, not performance. You don't just live longer, you live clearer. 4. Your brain reorganizes for wisdom. Now let's talk about the mind, because this is the one that causes a lot of fear and a lot of misunderstanding. When people talk about aging, they almost always say the same thing. "Oh, I'm losing my memory," or "my brain just doesn't work like it used to." And yes, there's some truth to that. But it's not the whole story. Not even close. At 80, your brain isn't just slowing down. It's reorganizing. You might find it harder to remember the name of someone you just met or why you walked into the kitchen. That's short-term memory. And yes, it does get a little fuzzier. But what most people don't realize is that while one part of your brain becomes less efficient, another part becomes sharper. You start drawing deeper connections between your life experiences. You start seeing patterns others miss. You become better at making sense of complicated situations, not through speed, but through insight. Your brain becomes less about quick answers and more about big-picture understanding. Let me tell you about Carlton. He's 84 now, a retired engineer who once memorized technical specs like it was nothing. But after 80, he noticed he couldn't keep new information in his head like before. It frustrated him until he noticed something strange. His son, who works in finance, started coming to him for advice. Complex work problems. And even though Carlton couldn't recall every number or term, he saw the solution. Almost instantly, his brain was drawing on decades of experience and quietly stitching everything together behind the scenes. Carlton's brain wasn't broken. It had evolved. It had shifted from being a storage unit to being a wisdom engine. So he made a change. He started writing important names and appointments in a little notebook. So he didn't waste mental space on those things. And he freed his mind up to focus on what he was now great at: strategy, insight, and pattern recognition. He even joined a local advisory board, helping guide long-term decisions in his community. And he thrived. Because the mental strengths that show up at 80, they're not flashy, but they are powerful. This is what your brain is doing too. You're not forgetting everything. You're remembering the right things, the things that matter. You're gaining the ability to see the truth in situations faster than younger folks who are still caught up in the surface. You might not recall what day of the week it is, but you know exactly when someone is lying to you. You might not learn a new phone app quickly, but you understand what people need and what they're really asking for. That's wisdom. That's age doing its best work. 5. You gain emotional and spiritual freedom. This one, for many, is the most beautiful surprise of all. It doesn't come with fanfare. It creeps in slowly, almost silently. And then one day you wake up and realize you feel lighter. Not physically, emotionally, spiritually. At 80, something happens inside you. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop performing. You stop trying to be what others expect, and you start simply being you. For maybe the first time in your life. All the pressure, career, appearances, social expectations, keeping up with the neighbors, it starts to fade. Your kids are grown. Your responsibilities have shifted. You're no longer climbing a ladder. You're no longer trying to impress. And in that quiet space, something beautiful begins. You come home to yourself. Take Constance. For over 50 years, she was the perfect minister's wife. Always polite, always put together, always saying the right thing. She hid her opinions, toned down her style, and put everyone else first. But at 82, something changed. She'd had enough. She started wearing bold, colorful clothes, her favorite since childhood. She began painting again, something she hadn't done since her teens. And not pretty flowers either, big, abstract, messy canvases full of feeling. And she stopped holding back in conversations. If she had a thought, she said it. Kindly, but directly. At first, her family was stunned. But then something amazing happened. They loved her for it. Her grandchildren adored this new wild version of Grandma Constance, who painted and told stories and spoke her mind. Because when someone becomes real, it's magnetic. The people around you can feel it. You're no longer hiding. You're glowing. And here's the thing, it's not about being rebellious. It's not about pushing people away. It's about finally having the freedom to live life on your terms. To say, this is who I am. This is what I love. And I'm not apologizing for it anymore. At 80, you've earned that right. Not just to rest, but to express. And when you do, you start to notice life feels fuller. Food tastes better. Laughter is easier. Conversations feel deeper. It's like everything becomes more vibrant, not because the world changed, but because you did. 6. All these shifts converge into a new life philosophy. And finally, the most important realization of all. These changes, your rhythm, your relationships, your time, your mind, your freedom, they don't happen in isolation. They work together. They're not 6 random things. They're one transformation, expressed in 6 different ways. It's not about decline. It's about evolution. Your body slows down, but becomes more efficient. Your social world shrinks, but becomes more meaningful. Your memory softens, but your wisdom sharpens. Your time feels shorter, but more intentional. You care less about what others expect, and more about what your soul needs. This is the gift of turning 80. And the people who embrace these shifts, who stop resisting and start adjusting, listening, leaning in, they don't just survive this chapter. They thrive. They report feeling more peaceful, more authentic, and, believe it or not, more satisfied than they have in decades. Not because they've avoided change, but because they've accepted it, welcomed it, grown with it, So if you're turning 80, or if you love someone who is, remember this. Aging isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new kind of chapter. One written not in haste or pressure or proving, but in clarity, wisdom, and truth. You've spent your life building, striving, managing, supporting. Now, maybe for the first time, you get to be fully, honestly, joyfully. And that's not something to fear. It's something to celebrate. Which of these 6 changes have you started to notice in your own life? Which one surprised you the most? Or brought the most peace? I'd love to hear your experience. Leave a comment. It helps more people than you know. And if this video helps shift your mindset about aging, send it to someone you love. Because the more we understand these changes, the less we fear them, and the more beauty we discover waiting on the other side. And don't forget to subscribe for more life advice for older people. We're building a space where every chapter of life is not just respected, but celebrated.